Back pain, blind spots. How do you even know what they are? How do you even know if you have any? Could simply knowing what they are be the key that unlocks that door to your healing and your recovery? Well, I certainly hope so. And that's what we're going to be talking about on today's video. Back pain, blind spots. I want you to think about a car driving, you in your car driving. Your hands are on the wheel, you're paying attention, you're looking at the signals and the signage, and out of nowhere, a car hits you. You didn't see it coming. It was in your blind spot, and look at the impact it has. You weren't doing anything wrong. You were doing everything right. But there was something in your periphery, in your blind spot that you did not see. And that's how I want you to think about the keys that are stopping you moving forward. You can't see what you can't see. I know that sounds obvious. I'm sure you have multitudes of examples of friends, family, interactions with strangers that afterwards you become aware of things about yourself that you had no idea about. We all have these blind spots. But the idea of today's video is that if you have back pain and what you're doing isn't working, then by definition, you have a blind spot that you're completely unaware of. And what are you going to do about that? Well, let's talk about how we identify our blind spots. Often they are limiting beliefs which show up in our language. But if you've been telling the same old story about your back pain to many practitioners over many years, you have adapted to believing that story. Whether it's right, wrong, it may feel right to you, it may in your head be true, but I guarantee someone else living the same experience as you would have a different perception of the same story. Your blind spot shows up in your language. And when I'm working with clients and listening, I can pick it. And once we know what a blind spot is, we have an open door to improvement. Some people have one, some people have two, some people have three, some people have many. They're usually a thought pattern, a limiting belief about healing, which creates an emotional reaction in the body, which becomes our biochemistry, which affects how our tissues heal. So we call that an emotional addiction. Some of you have adapted to be addicted to certain levels of cortisol, which is stress. You're so adapted to it, you don't even know you're stressed anymore. That's adaptation. Our bodies are designed to adapt to certain levels of stimulus. And biochemistry is so interesting because if we're addicted to a certain level of, let's say, cortisol, and all of a sudden we start to relax, then our mind triggers a belief to stimulate a stress response to get that cortisol level back up because it feels more comfortable in the state that it's operating at. So when we're breaking through and expanding and revealing and becoming aware of blind spots, it can be uncomfortable. The process can be uncomfortable. And again, by definition of the discomfort, it's good feedback that you're shifting into new territory, that you're expanding your awareness. We don't always want to know or see what our blind spots are. The subconscious keeps them hidden because to reveal them could be quite painful. But I would argue the pain you're in probably is much worse than any discomfort or pain by revealing where you are not free. I quote Peter Crone on that, and his work is impressive. Please check him out on YouTube. He's called The Mind Architect. I love the way he deals with people. I love his languaging. I love his philosophies about health, life, wealth, relationships. They mirror a lot of my own beliefs and philosophies. But let's get back on track. So we may have a blind spot in how we think. We may have a blind spot in how we feel, or an emotional addiction that we just have adapted to and we're unaware of. But we also may have, and I almost guarantee anyone in back pain does have a movement blind spot. What do I mean by that? I mean that you have developed a way of moving that either keeps annoying injured tissue or stops tissue from being moved at all. You may be in a protective holding pattern. You may be in an over-bracing pattern. You may be unaware completely that every time you move, you are loading one part of your body more than the other, but that's just your default way of moving that you've always done, and you don't realize there's another way to do the same movement that would place stress into different tissues, which would create space and time for the injured area to repair. So, whether it be the way you think, the way you feel, or the way you move, if you don't know what your handbrake is because you're blind to it, then you simply can't muscle your way through the barrier. You cannot fix something if you're trying to fix the wrong stuff. And I see so much effort some people put into rehabilitation. They're doing everything. They're going to acupuncture, they're going to Pilates, they're going to yoga, they're meditating, they've got a personal trainer there, taking out gluten. Like, they're seeing their physio, they're seeing the osteo, they're seeing the chiro. You cannot say they are not committed to getting better. And it's so sad to me because they're not seeing what they're not seeing. And we all do it. We all do it in areas of our lives. It's infuriating, yet anytime you get a sense that you're pushing and pushing and pushing and nothing's budging, I would suggest that feeling of frustration and hustle and angst is feedback that you're putting a lot of time and energy into something that's directed in the wrong place. We want to be looking at our handbrakes and dissolving them rather than working harder to push against a barrier that's often not even our barrier. I hope that makes sense. Some people have multiple blind spots. Some people have just a little one. I've seen the whole spectrum. I can tell you that it doesn't matter how many you have. You just want to become aware of them. And becoming aware of them can be a little bit painful emotionally. It can be challenging to look at things about ourselves that we don't want to look at. But I would also suggest that the pain you're in is worse than the pain of inner work, inner transformation, self-expression, self-evaluation, self-awareness. We may not like the things we discover, but on the other side of those things is freedom. And that is what we're chasing. Freedom in our bodies, freedom to move without pain, without fear, without restriction. And that's an internal job as much as it is an external one. So if you're curious to know what your blind spots are, then drop curious in the comments below, and we'll do a little bit of a video series over the next few weeks looking at what the common ones are. The beautiful thing about back pain blind spots is that once we shine a light on them, the awareness is usually all that's required. It's not like you have to do anything more. You just have to see it, feel it, expand it if it's a thought pattern, do the mental work to reframe it. What you need to do once you know is very individual, and you'll know what you need to do once you see it. But first step is the awareness. We don't often need more education. We need more awareness of what our limits and what our capped beliefs, what our habits of moving are, And once we see them, dissolve them, that's one layer gone. And with each layer that we shed, hopefully we move closer and closer towards feeling better, feeling stronger, feeling more aligned, feeling more authentic in our bodies and who we are. And that's what my method's all about. So again, if you are in back pain and you're just sick of dealing with it the same old way, head over to the website www.bulletproofbacks.com, check out some of my resources, and stay tuned for more videos on this topic. Like, follow, let me know you're interested, and if you've got any specific blind spots that you're aware of and you'd like me to discuss, happy to help. I'm here to help you. Use me. Ciao for now.